Hello, my dear students. Greetings of the day. Welcome to Bangla Shikha Classroom 2024, an endeavor of Paschim Bongo Samogra Shikha Mission under the Education Department, Government of West Bengal. I am Mita Dotto, Assistant Teacher of Dokhineshwar Sri Sri Sharoda Devi Balika Vidya Mandir. Today we are going to study the lesson All Summer in a Day by Ray Bradbury. This is for class 9 and in your English textbook from the government, Bliss, please open page 34 of the lesson so that when I proceed with my explanations, you can refer to the lines for better understanding. Now this is referring to the page number. Please open the page 34. Before we go into the lesson, we should know about the author who is writing the text. Ray Bradbury was born on August 22, 1920 and he died in June 2012. He was a US writer and he is very much known for his imaginative science fictions, stories and novels, which basically deal with criticism of the social flaws that any society faces, and basically he creates an awareness for the hazards of runaway technology. Now, what is runaway technology? We know that the improvements of science has its own advantages and disadvantages. You may be writing essays on the advantages and disadvantages of science, and nowadays you all are facing such advanced technology that you must be very well aware that you can use that technology for your good or you can use that technology for your bad. So here the runaway technology means that the technologies that are hazardous for our existence, that can destroy our existence. So now what is science fiction? What is fiction? Fiction is an imaginary events and people that is described through a story. You must have gone through many fictions, you have read many fictions, you have seen the movie Jurassic Park, you must have seen the movie Extraterrestrial, that is E.T. So there are many renowned science fictions that you come through in the form of films or stories. Now this lesson that we are going to do is a science fiction also. And this science fiction is based on imagined future scientific or technological advances and major social or environmental changes. And it usually deals with space. Like in this lesson, we are going to see that a group of children who have started living along with their parents, a civilization has been created in the planet Venus, and how they deal with the life in other planets. So science fiction deals with basically the technological advances put into stories with the help of imaginations, and that very commonly deals with travel and life on the other planets. Now just here I would want you to refer to the text where, see, it has been given here that this was a way life forever on planet Venus. Here was located the schoolroom of the children belonging to men and women who came by rockets from Earth. So this line verifies that from Earth, the children along with their parents, they traveled to Venus to settle down. Now to understand the background of this lesson, this is an excerpt from the science fiction which was first published in March 1954 in a magazine called the Magazine of Fantasy and Science Fiction. It was the March 1954 issue of this particular magazine which is given there. It's an imaginary description of life in Venus, because in my next slide I'm going to show you that actually life in Venus is not possible, because it's such a heated up planet that no life is ever possible there. But the author's imagination has taken these children to the planet Venus. And perhaps, distance-wise, the planet Venus is very close to the Earth. So probably the author had that in mind, that it can be very fast, it can be very speedily traveled to Venus. The rocket that will take them from Earth to Venus will take some very less time. Now here in this lesson, we see the sun comes out for just 1 hour after 7 long years. So this is very touching. We, all of us who enjoy the sun every now and then, after every sunrise, we enjoy a whole day of sun rays. So how could that be without 7 years? How can you live without 7 years? So you can very well imagine the touching experience of the children who couldn't see the sun for such long. The text has no similarity with the actual condition of the planet Venus, which is actually the hottest planet, hence not habitable. This I have mentioned to you. So according to NASA, Venus' atmosphere is made totally and mostly of carbon dioxide. You know very well that we cannot live without oxygen, and we exhale carbon dioxide. So if that gas is present there, it is not possible for any human life to continue there. So the divergence from the scientific and geographical facts only adds up to the imaginative texture of the text. So we see that the children and their parents are living in the planet Venus, but actually the fact is that it is not possible because of the heat and the geographical facts. So what is there? This gives the imaginative texture of the text, which, while introducing the author, I told you that he is known for his imaginative science fictions. Venus is very close to the Earth. It is considered nearest to the Earth. So perhaps for traveling easily, the author has chosen Venus. Ray Bradbury has chosen to explore this theme in the context of a future generation that has a chance of traveling between planets. We know science is improving at such a speedy pace that, like, people are buying places in the moon also. You are very well aware of that. So perhaps in future, when you all will grow up, or your next generation, they will perhaps be traveling between planets in rockets. So Ray Bradbury has perhaps this in mind when he writes this text. So this and the background is set on the Venus, but of course it is not of the present day, not of the past day, but sometimes in the long future, when perhaps something like this is going to happen. Now this is the picture of planet Venus. You can see exploring the surface of Venus is very difficult because its intensity, you can see the surface. It has crushing air pressure and very hot. And you know very well, in Kolkata, all around, we are like experiencing such a hot wave now. So even in 42, 45 in some places, and around 40 in Kolkata, we are not able to stand the heat. So you can very well imagine that life is not possible there. Now, you may follow the text. I'll be explaining the synopsis, how the text flows as a story. It opens with continuous rain and storm that lashes the dense forest of Venus. We see that they are crushed, they are fallen to the ground, but only to rise again. Human colonization of Venus has been underway by men and women who came by rockets from the Earth. So I read out already a line to you which showed that they came by rockets to set up their civilization on the Earth. Once in 7 years, the sun comes out for an hour only. And in this lesson, we see all preparations of the children in their schoolroom to view the sun and enjoy that moment to the fullest. They are increasingly excited at the time as the time for sunshine nears. We see they are in the classroom, they are with their teachers, they are discussing about the sun, they are making pictures of the sun, they are writing poems on the sun. So they are just celebrating sun, because it's after such a long time that the sun is coming out. And they were very small children. Most of the children are of year 9 years old. So when the sun came up last time, they were 2 years and they don't remember even. They were stunned when the rain stopped and the sun appeared, and they felt the warmth of his rays. They rolled on the ground and ran among the trees. Now, I would request you, my dear students, to refer to the page 36, because here it's very beautifully given there, like how they felt. So, I would like to read out some lines they wrote from the sun. I think the sun is a flower that blossoms for just 1 hour. So, this is such a beautiful line, such a simple line, but it shows their intense love and eagerness to see the sun. That was yesterday. Today at this moment, the rain was slackening, and we gradually see that the sun is making its preparation for coming out. So the rain was slackening. The rain was slowly slowing down. The children gathered at the great thick windows, the windows of their classroom. Of course, they had an enclosed classroom because it used to rain outside always and they were not able to come out. So, the rain slackened still more. The children were eager to see the sun. They had been on Venus all their lives. They have been only 2 years when the sun last came out. They had long since forgotten the color and the heat of how it really was. So, when at 2 years old they saw the sun, they don't remember. They don't, we all feel the sun rays. We can't look at the sun because of its very hot atmosphere, like our eyes seem to get burnt. But we can feel the sun, we can feel its rays. So the children forgot that feeling also. So they are eager. They played in the echoing tunnels of the underground city and sang of summer and the sun. And the rain stopped. It was as if a hurricane had lost its sound. See, when it rains very, very hard, we all can feel. Just close your eyes and try to feel the sound of rain. When it rains a lot, there's a sound. At times in your classroom, you may have experienced this, that the teacher is teaching and very heavy showers fall. And you can't hear the voice of the teacher. It gets lost in the heavy sound of the rain. So when heavy rain stopped, it seemed that a hurricane is a storm that destroys everything. The sound of it is very harsh. So when the hurricane stopped, when the rain stopped, it seemed as if a storm has stopped and it was standstill, everything. And the silence was so immense that the children could feel that their ears are getting stuffed. See, when there is too much silence, you feel a pressure on your ears. That happened to the children. They waited eagerly with their mouth shut to view the sun. And when the sun came out, see the description, it was the color of flaming bronze. It was very large. See, in your textbooks, just refer to the slides here and see your books. The pictures here, see the blazing sun. The children there enjoying and waiting. And when the sun is there, the sun looks like a bronze, very bright. The sky around it was blazing blue. The skies became clear because the rain stopped. The jungle burned with the sunlight. When there is sunlight, the upper part of trees, they are so bright that it seems like they are burning. So just the same thing happened to them. To the forest there, the children released from their spell rushed out, yelling into the summertime. So what happened? The children released from their spell. What happened to them? They were spellbound. They were so magically, it was such a magical experience that when they saw the sun, they could not move, they could not speak. So when for a few moments they got adjusted to the sun, then they just rushed out to get the sun rays, to feel the sun rays and see the sun. And their teacher said that don't go very far because Again, in an hour, the sun would sink. And if they go too far, it would be difficult for them to come back in the classroom. So the children for an hour sinks in the joy of this unusually beautiful experience. And then again, in the midst of their running, one of the girls wailed. They were running around, they were enjoying themselves, they were feeling the sun, but suddenly in the midst of such enjoyment, a little girl, she started wailing, she started crying, and everyone stopped. Why was she crying? The girl standing in the open, now refer to page 38 again. Everyone stopped. The girl standing in the open held out her hand. Oh, look, look, she said, trembling. And what happened? The girl who was crying, she held out her hand. The sky has again begun to shed rains. And the little girl knew that it was all over. And the rain will resume, the sun will disappear, and again, for another 7 long years, they have to remain in this condition, waiting for the sun again to rise. So this is what the title of the lesson tells us. All summer in a day, not even a day, in an hour. So for them, we call the period of sunshine as a day. So for them, that 1 hour was the only summertime, was the only day that they could experience. Herein lies the justification of the title. And now then, a boom of thunder startled. Again, there were loud sounds of thunder. They tumbled upon each other and ran again to enter into the classroom because the rain is going to start again. And they stood near the doorway of their underground houses until it was raining hard. And then they heard the gigantic sound of rain everywhere. Like it was like a hurricane stopping when the rain stopped. Now as if it's the beginning of the hurricane again, and 7 more years, it's a bye-bye to the sun. So the children had pale faces and they looked out of the world, and as if they got disconnected from the world again for 7 more years. So this is the synopsis of the text. Now from every text, we do have a lesson, we do have a message that we get from the text, something that we learn. So what did we learn here? School is a place of learning and growth. You know, you all also come to school every day. I also come to school every day. And this is a place of learning for both you and me. Because you and us teachers. Because it's through mutual experience, mutual learning that we all grow in our minds and also gain knowledge. So just this is to be noted that these children could be with their parents at home when the sun came out, but it's not that. They came and accumulated in the school with a teacher, and together they could make the event of the sun coming out and learn from it much more together. So it is very important that we should all realize that your school and your classroom is a place of learning, acquiring knowledge, and a place of mental growth. And then we see the power of nature. The power of nature which nobody can control. Human beings cannot overpower nature's mandate. It's so much heat now. Can we control? Even with so much advancement in science? No, we cannot. So even in Venice, the picture we are seeing there is a lot of rains. Nobody can stop the rain unless and until it stops on its own. Nobody can make the sun rise until it rises on its own. So this is the lesson we have to learn, that nature has its own way, and it's our responsibility as human beings to respect that nature, to see and look after the welfare of nature, because nature in turn works for the well-being of the people. But nature, if not if not kept in a well-mannered way and is destroyed, then it can overpower us. Like now also, you know very well, the intense heat that we are experiencing, it's more because we are cutting down trees and we are destroying the ecological balance. So we should be aware that human beings cannot overpower nature, and we should respect, and it's our responsibility to upkeep nature. With its power to restore health as well as inspire empathy, the sun represents renewal, vitality, and the power of nature. We see here that the sun is a strong image of warmth, light, and hope. Because the sun gives us hope, the children are so consciously and eagerly waiting for it, even if it's for 1 hour. So they view it as a very treasured event. Rain is the story's most prominent visual representation of Venus's harsh and miserable climate. The characters are confined by it, unable to leave their underground homes or see the outside world because it is always present. We see the rain is the most prominent thing here because from the beginning till the end, it's only rain, rain, and rain, and how the rain has kept the children confined to their internal schools, the underground places that they are in. And nature has its own rhythm of creation and destruction, because at the very beginning of the lesson you have seen the rain makes the forest crush and again it grows. So nature is destructing, nature is creating. It has its own rhythm and cycle of creation and destruction. Now, the very important thing is, whatever we learn, we have our examinations to give, we have our examinations to pass. So, in spite of gaining knowledge from whatever we are learning, we should be aware of the mistakes that we make while writing the exams, because scoring good marks is also very important for progress in your life, or getting into what you want to do, what your dreams are. So spelling mistakes, you should be very, very careful of spelling mistakes. You should learn the spelling well, and of learning the spelling well, the most important thing is pronunciation. You should pronounce the words correctly. Listen to your teacher intently when she teaches in class, and listen to how she is spelling the words. Once you spell it correct, you will write it correct. And another very common error that we see in answer sheets is the answers are written in direct speech, but answers cannot be written in direct speech. You should write answers in indirect speech. Not following instructions of questions. You should follow the instructions, read it again and again. For example, when there is a true and false question that is very common in your class 9 exams, class 10 exams, and even for your Madhyamik exams, true, false, supported by the correct sentence. You often write the sentence in your own words, but when you write true or false, whatever the question is, there is a line from the text that speaks to you or that tells you that in reference to this line, this particular sentence is true or false. So you should quote that line of the lesson, not write it like answers in which direct speech cannot be written. Here you have to write in direct speech. You have to write just the line that is written in the text. Next is faulty construction. For faulty construction, you should have more of grammar practice, so you can apply your proper sense of construction when you write your answers. And error in writing supporting system is the example I gave you when I was asking you to follow the instructions. So following instructions of questions is very, very important. If you cannot understand the instruction reading it once, please go through it again and again. You will understand. Now, after the error thing, see, here is a slide telling how much you learn from your theory, how much you learn from practice, and how much you learn from mistakes. So mistakes are one of the greatest pillars from which we learn, because yes, we may have knowledge, we may practice, but when we apply that knowledge, that is when we become aware of our mistakes and where our mistakes lead us to. In your case, a single mistake will make you lose marks, will make your results not to the extent you want and may make your next slab of education difficult. So note the mistakes. Whenever you have any exams to write, whenever you make any mistakes in the class, don't be shy of asking about it to your class teachers, to your teachers. So note the mistakes and learn from it. You will never forget it again. Now, remedial measures. We all make mistakes, but of course there are measures, there are ways to correct it. Reading the text again and again and learning the spellings well will make you more familiar to the text. So you won't make mistakes of information that you get from the text. You get a lot of questions from where information is much needed. So if you read the text again and again, you won't miss those little information that are very important in getting big marks. Noting the meanings of new words. There may be many words in a text that you know. There may be many words in the text which you don't know. To increase your vocabulary, you should know the meanings of the words, the synonyms of the words, get it written down in your notebook. Writing is the habit of writing. Like, make it like anything, like any time you sit with a book to read, to study, have a notebook to yourself. Write the important lines, write the tough, difficult spellings, write the problem areas that you're facing, write a sentence or word which you cannot make out. You have to go and ask to whoever is your teacher to explain you that line. That will make your learning much clearer. Application of the new words in writing skill answers. So when you have writing exercises, writing skill exercises in your examination, in your everyday classrooms, so when you learn new words, you can apply those in your writing skills. That will make your answer much more good, much more of good quality, and it will earn you more marks. And of course, what we learn today, we keep it for the rest of our lives. So when you learn a new word, when you try to apply it, you will actually go and progress towards doing more with words when you need it. Like make this a habit, not only in your textbook. You may be hearing new words anywhere and everywhere. So make it a point to learn from those and apply those in your writing skills. Understanding and practicing textual grammar. Textual grammar is something which you should, there is a grammar, there is a writing exercise at the end of every lesson of yours, which you have already done. In class 9 and in class 10, you recapitulate those. So make it a practice that practicing textual grammar will make you very much prompt to answering grammar questions, and till your higher studies also, in your higher studies also, in higher secondary examinations also, you will need it. So learn it well, and if you practice this grammar, conversation will be better for you, writing will be better for you, and lastly but not the least, talk in English as much as possible with your friends and in the classroom, because conversing in English will make you much more efficient in writing proper English. Now we come to the transformation of sentences, simple, complex and compound. I will just give you an idea here. It's at the end of your lesson, this lesson all in summer's day. Transformation of sentences from simple, complex, compound and vice versa. So I will just give you already have an idea, but just here are some slides to give you an idea of what they are. A simple sentence is one subject and one predicate. Okay, there are examples in the next slide. She reads a book. She reads books or she reads a book, whatever. It is one complete sentence and one complete thought. And it has a subject. She reads. It's a verb, and predicate or object is the books. So in a simple sentence, there is only one subject, one predicate. In a complex sentence, I just wanted to get home and relax. There's an independent clause and a dependent clause. Now, what is clause? What is clause? A group of words that contains a subject and a verb, that is a clause. And what is an independent clause? Which makes sense on its own. There's an example given, I went to school. So, I went to school can stand on its own. It doesn't need any other sentence to show its meaning. It doesn't depend on anything else. And that for the dependent clause, it doesn't make sense on its own as a sentence. So what is the dependent clause? Although I wasn't feeling well, I went to school. So now this although I wasn't feeling well, does this make any sense on its own? Although. So the question comes that why although? What is that although? Although I wasn't well, I want to school. That doesn't make sense on its own. Although I wasn't feeling, this part doesn't make any sense unless you add I went to school. Or although I wasn't feeling well, I went to the park. Whatever it is, whatever the next part is, it is dependent. Then the first part, it's dependent on the next part. So in complex sentence, what happens is there can be a sentence in itself and plus one dependent clause. A complex sentence is a sentence which has one independent clause and one dependent clause. So what is the example of it? I just wanted to get home and relax. So this is an independent home. This is what I wish to do. I just wanted to get home and relax. The next sentence is because I left my workplace very late. So because I left my workplace very late. When you speak of this sentence, it cannot stand on its own. Because? What is because? What is the reason? Why are you telling because? So, why does he want to rest? Because I left my workplace very late. So, the first part of the sentence, I just wanted to get home and relax. That is the sentence which can stand independently, but the reason for it cannot stand without the first part of the sentence. Whatever reason that was, that cannot stand without the sentence, I just wanted to get home and relax. Now for the compound sentence, it is again two independent clause and it's joined by a conjunction. It's joined by a coordinating conjunction. Now what is that example? I ordered a salad, but actually I wanted a bowl of noodles. So this but, this is a coordinating conjunction. What are coordinating conjunction? For, at, not, or, but, yes, yet, so. These 7 are basically the coordinating conjunctions. So here you see I ordered a salad. This is an independent clause. Actually, I want a bowl of noodles. This is also an independent clause which can stand on its own. It is joined by but. Now there is a formal letter and in your textbook it is very nicely given all the points. Here in my slide it is just a sum up of that. You can go through your Bliss formal letter of inquiry part. Always, what I have to tell is always follow the letter format. Leave lines between paragraphs. The introduction of the body part must clearly state the reason for writing the letter. Use simple language. Provide complete information. Now, the message, all these are written in your textbook, so I am not going into the description of this. What is important for me to tell you is the last part that is written in capitals. Form without content will get no credit. So we often get letters like this that only the address part is written, only the conclusion part is written, but there is no body of the letter. But please be very aware that the body of the letter is very important, without which only the form is given no credit. There is no evaluation or no marks. You get no credit for writing just the formalities of the letter, the address part and everything. So please write the letter, see what the topic is, write the letter, and even if the body of the letter is irrelevant, even then you get no credit. So this is to sum up all that you have in your all summer in a day and the related exercises that you have. Thank you for your attention. Hope you have a very good learning session. Thank you so much, students.